Coming up on today's ATV News.
Awards don't really get much bigger than this, and an Aggie just got it.
There is a lot of construction on campus, but one renovation has students and professors upset.
A familiar face is asked to leave the fairgrounds. I'll tell you what he gave out that cost him his job.
That pass didn't come from Chucky Keaton, and neither did any other pass at Romney Stadium on Saturday. We'll show you what the team thinks about their Keatonless future coming up on ATV Sports.
Snow up in the mountains. Coming up on ATV Weather, I'll tell you if it's going to work its way down to us.
All that and more coming up right now.
Welcome to another edition of ATV News. I'm Aaron Griffiths.
And I'm Victoria Hepworth. Topping our news this evening, a motorcyclist is alive after crashing head-on into a semi-truck Monday afternoon. This semi was making a left turn off Highway 101 when the motorcyclist ran a red light and head-on into the semi's trailer. Highway Patrol Sergeant Cade Brenchley says the biker is lucky just to be alive.
He must have hit just right to where it didn't cause much more severe injuries or kill him.
The motorcyclist was taken to the hospital with no serious injuries, and the semi-driver was released from the scene.
What can you do with a bachelor's from Utah State? Lars Hansen got a Nobel Prize for his research on the stock market, using skills he learned from our very own USU. It takes more than just a degree, however. According to friends and coworkers, Lars has always been smart. He graduated in 1974 with degrees in math, political science, and an economics minor. One of his friends from school teaches in the business building.
I understood about half of what he was saying most of the time because Lars is just smarter than the rest of us.
He was a great professor, really interested in student learning and really brilliant.
Lars is a native of Cache Valley and has received many awards for his work in economics.
Today is the first day that Gary Johnson will not be at the fairgrounds. He had been serving as farrier for 20 years.
A farrier is someone who shoes horses and helps care and train them. ATV's Lee Kubik introduces you to a familiar face that will be missing from the fairgrounds.
It's not for me, it's for the kids. I don't get paid, I get a hamburger. You know what I mean? I don't ask for payment in return.
After 20 years of working at the fairgrounds, Johnson has been asked to leave. Students say that he has been helpful in caring for their horses.
He breaks it down, makes it really easy for you.
He's always willing to give advice or to help out in any way that he can.
While some like his teaching methods, Fairgrounds manager Bart Esplin says it was Johnson's unsolicited advice that led to his dismissal.
The one thing about Gary is he knows a lot about horses and horse activities, and he wants to share that with people. And quite honestly, there's a lot of people that don't want his advice, don't want his information, and he can be pretty strongly opinionated about it.
Esplin says that Johnson had been warned about the complaints in the past.
Several years ago, we had a conversation with Gary about complaints that my office had received about him, and we had a conversation with him then about those and gave him notice that we would like those complaints to cease.
Esplin says that while Johnson is a great horseman, he has to do what is best for the fairgrounds. Lee Kubik, ATV News.
Now that Johnson is leaving the fairgrounds, he's not exactly sure what his next steps will be.
Some USU students and faculty are still upset after a petition to save the Kent Concert Hall courtyard was declined. As of Monday morning, the Kent Concert Courtyard is closed for construction. The area was designed by a USU alumni, and students and teachers say they appreciate the simplicity of the design. Even after a petition with close to 500 signatures, the construction is still going to continue.
My goal is things go on here is to work with the Academic Senate and to try and get some student involvement in helping with that new design process, and hopefully we can come up with a really good product in the end that's beyond the lack of vision that we currently have.
It has really stood the test of time. It's been a fantastic space for all these years.
Taylor believes that the old brick is being saved to be used for the new entryway.
Coming up, we'll show you how conserving water on campus may actually have negative side effects.
And how Aggie Radio may be making its way into your car very soon. Looking for some fun this weekend? Well, corn mazes seem to be the thing to do during this season. Our Brandon Fonda tried not to get lost while showing you what all the fun is about.
It wasn't supposed to be easy.
Here at the American West Heritage Center, you'll find a lot of this. And no, you don't eat it. The 7-acre corn maze is the top attraction.
We are closest to campus, and it's about a 15-minute drive.
15 minutes might seem short when you disappear into this maze.
The maze was really fun because it had a lot of circles in it and it got really confusing in the center.
We wandered around in there for probably like 20 minutes, and then I found my mom and she handed me a map, and we went pretty fast after that.
And as you wander, you never know what might be around the next corner. Don't worry, the corn maze isn't haunted, but if you want a spooky experience, head on over to the Haunted Hollow.
It is scary. You can hear screaming all night long when we're running the Haunted Hollow.
But while you're waiting to be scared, go check out the other activities, like this giant slide, which I had to try.
One person at a time.
Take a shot with the BB gun, or test your skills with the tomahawk. This guy might be a little too young, but there's plenty for the younger crowd as well, like riding ponies, feeding animals, and riding the train. Brandon Fonda, ATV News.
For more information on hours and prices, go to awhc.org.
Conservation on campus may sound like a great idea. Brianna Bodley is live to tell us more. Brianna?
Just a few years ago, this one toilet flush would have used up to 7 gallons of water. Now, it only uses about 2. The high-efficiency toilets like this one are only a few years old, and while they cut water costs, they come with some new ones too.
There can be maintenance problems, so you end up paying more for people hours to maintain low water fixtures, so you save on the water but not on time.
The costs aren't just for maintenance. Taking a gallon of water from the toilet
is 1 less gallon in the sewer.
So if you're reducing the amount of water, it looks like there's more pollutants, or your levels register higher because there's less water.
Logan's population has risen from 47,359 to 48,879 in the past 5 years. That's only 1,500 people, but add these numbers to the cutback in water use, and it equals more waste pouring in with less water to dilute it. A result that Harp says has the FCC worried. And now, Logan needs more than just this facility to keep up. These birds could be some of the first animals hurt if the levels remain unchecked, but the biggest damage would happen to fish downstream. Every time we do this, the university saves money, but at the end of the line, is it really worth it?
Next week, we will follow up with a broader look at the downside to sustainability in the county and in the state.
Utah's national parks are now open, even though the government is still shut down. But it might not stay that way for long. Utah's Governor Gary Herbert made a deal with the Senate to reopen Utah's 5 national parks: Arches, Canyonlands, Bryce Canyon, Capitol Reef, and Zion. The parks have been open since Saturday, but the $1.6 million deal only has enough money to keep the parks open for 10 days. October is normally a very profitable month for the parks, and if the government shutdown goes on longer than 10 days, officials say the state should be able to make more payments that will keep the parks running. But even though the parks are open, the Bureau of Land Management campgrounds surrounding the parks are still closed from the shutdown. If you were planning on heading down to the parks during this time, you might have had a problem finding somewhere to stay.
How often do you listen to the radio? What about the online school radio? The DJs of Aggie Radio are excited because big changes are coming as soon as the government shutdown is over.
Creative Living
Aggie Radio
Part 2 by Bastille
is becoming an FM station. Listening to FM radio is easy. Most cars have a built-in radio that can get stations at the touch of a button. But for Aggie Radio, it hasn't been so easy. Listeners have to go online to hear them. Tyler Thorne is busy working the booth, playing music, and giving advice. But only 3 people are listening to him. The DJs do a lot of work and want to be heard, so they say this change is a big deal.
Oh yeah, it's a huge prospect for us.
Oh, it's exciting, because every year, every DJ asks, like, can we go FM, when are we going to go FM?
Say the change will hopefully happen in less than a few weeks and will be a good chance to get more listeners and become a stronger station.
All right, when we come back, Caesar Abbott will have your Cache Valley weather update.
Welcome to ATV Weather. My name is Caesar Abbott, and I'll be delivering your weather updates. If we take a quick look at our national radar here, we can see that the Utah area right here is pretty much clear, sunny skies all over. Now on the East Coast, however, they might be getting some showers during fall break. If we take a quick look at our local radar, however, we can see that pretty much in the Logan area up here, it's clear, sunny skies, as well as the Salt Lake Valley. There's not much precipitation going on there, so let's take a quick look at our 7-day forecast. We can see that Wednesday today, there's a high of 36, a low 29. Tomorrow, Thursday, there's a 20% chance of snow, which tells me that there's some people out there that are doing snow dances, but you guys are not doing that well. Friday, however, there's a high of 39, low of 30. Saturday and throughout the weekend, it's perfect. It's perfect. There's going to be clear skies all through the beginning of next week. And yeah, it's just great to be outside and yeah. But that's it for ATV Weather. When we come back for sports, our Eric Jungblut will have more about sports. Eric?
Thanks, Caesar. Coming up on ATV Sports, the Aggies use a pair of quarterbacks against Boise State, and the hockey team gets physical in their first home game of the season. Guys, I'm Eric Jungblut, and this is ATV Sports. It was a busy weekend here in Logan, so let's get things rolling with some USU football. USU head coach Matt Wells decided to start junior quarterback Craig Harrison against Boise State in the Aggies' first game of the season without Chucky Keaton. ATV's Bradley Wells has the highlights of Saturday's matchup against the Broncos.
Utah State Aggies dressed up in all white as they hosted the Boise State Broncos in conference play. The Aggies were playing in their first game without quarterback Chuck Keaton, and Coach Wells did not reveal who the starter was going to be until game time.
It's not about being down in adversity, it's about overcoming adversity, and this is a team sport. We have, those great leaders, those great starters, but that's why we have other great leaders and other stars to pick that up.
Reynolds would do just that with 148 yards on 5 catches. However, he never got a touchdown.
Offensively, we just struggle.
The Broncos offense would not struggle as running back Jay Ajayi would take this direct snap in for a touchdown. Moments later, they would kick a field goal to take a 10-0 lead in the first quarter. The Aggies would get a touchdown in the second quarter from running back Joey DiMartino and a field goal to make the score 24-10 in favor of the Broncos. The Aggies would get one more chance after the special teams blocked this Broncos punt. However, they couldn't get a touchdown on 2 throws to the end zone, and the Broncos would block the field goal attempt to hold on to the 24-10 advantage at halftime. Harrison would play one possession in the second half before being pulled.
I thought we were dead. I didn't think we had a whole lot going right there.
Darryl Garrettson wouldn't do much better as the Broncos would win 34-23.
Wasn't what we wanted, and it was ugly, on both sides at times. But they fought their butt off, and I'm proud of them for that.
We can cry and moan about all the adversity, all the hurting, but at the end of the day, it's about winning football games. No matter how you do it, no matter how you get it done, just go out there and get it done.
Utah State spent all week trying to decide which quarterback was going to get the start. In the end, it didn't matter as neither quarterback could get the offense moving. At Romney Stadium, Bradley Wells, ATV Sports.
Utah State is on the road this week and will head down to Albuquerque to take on conference foe New Mexico this Saturday at 7 p.m. The game will be televised. From hits on the gridiron to hits on the ice, we move on to USU hockey. The team is back in Logan after a long road trip to start the season, and they look to extend their 3-game winning streak against Weber State on Saturday. I was there behind the glass to bring you the action. The USU hockey team took the ice Saturday afternoon looking to avenge an early season loss to arch-rival Weber State in Ogden. Jumping into the late first period here, Aggie forward Chris Videto strikes first, taking the feed from Derek Shoup and putting it in to give USU a 1-0 lead. Going to the early second period now, Aggie forward Stu Hepburn lands a hard hit on a Weber player. He will go to the box for roughing, and on the ensuing power play, Weber ties it 1-1. Weber scored one more goal before the end of the period to put USU into a 2-1 hole. Going into the third, the Aggies responded immediately with this goal by defenseman Joe Chase to tie the game at 2. But not to be outdone, Weber scores again to take a late 3-2 lead. With 5.5 minutes remaining in regulation, Cooper Lim slides one past the Weber goalie to knot the game at 3. The game went to overtime, but neither team pulled ahead, so a shootout would have to decide this one. Aggie goalie Bryce Scherzel does his best impersonation of a brick wall here, and forward Ian Beckstrom puts it away. The Aggies win the game in a shootout, 4-3.
It's a good character win, just a lot of leadership in the room there. All the vets came together, kind of got everyone together. Rookies too are doing great out there.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, we stayed pretty disciplined today, except for a few occasions. I think we definitely need to get better at that, but overall, I mean, we'll get better as the year goes on.
It was a chippy game against an in-state rival, but the Aggies managed to pull out their first home win of the season. Up next, tournament play in Provo. The hockey team will take on Denver, Boise State, and Montana State this weekend at the BYU Showcase, and will return home to play Arizona State on October 25th. The women's volleyball team is basking in its win over Utah Valley University last night. The Aggies hit .317 as a team against the Wolverines, and sophomore Ellie Brainerd led the team with 12 kills while hitting .391. Junior libero Ashlyn Rogers-Court had 12 digs on the night, putting her career total at 976. This leaves her just 5 digs short of number 5 all-time in Utah State volleyball history. The team heads to the University of Nevada to take on the Wolfpack on Saturday. Be sure to tune in next week for more ATV Sports. Back to you, Aaron and Victoria.
Thanks, Eric. Coming up,
one local group is giving back to the community, and we'll show you what they're doing.
welcome back. The Utah Assistive Technology Program is a program through USU that refurbishes motorized wheelchairs for persons with disabilities. Our Caesar Abbott shows us more.
CREATE, a non-profit initiative of the Utah Assistive Technology Program, provides low-cost wheelchair devices to persons with disabilities. CREATE refurbishes donated manual and motorized wheelchairs and then offers them at a very low-cost price to the consumer.
Devices here have been donated by local residents and agencies. They're fully refurbished,
taken out for parts, and then recycled.
Many people around the state have benefited from the program. The average price for these types of wheelchairs ranges from $5,500 to $6,000, but after Create refurbishes them, they charge a service fee of under $500 to the final consumer.
The typical wheelchairs are like a Jazzy wheelchair, which you see a lot of them around. They're probably, you know, $5,000, $5,500. And so we really thought that we needed to put together a program so that we could refurbish the wheelchairs and get them back out to individuals in the community for a reasonable amount of money.
Following a professional evaluation, what we do here is make sure that the device meets the client and their needs. We identify that with what we have here in inventory, and we basically completely refurbish a device using usually parts from other chairs. We thoroughly clean and sanitize it, adjust the seat, thoroughly test drive it as well to make sure that it's fully functional and that it can really benefit the client.
UATP is a program serving Utahns. Anyone with a disability is eligible to get one of these devices, and no insurance is required. For information, visit createutah.org.
STEP's first service project of the year involved the assembly of toy cars for children in need. What started as one retired Cache Valley man's hobby has turned into a global charity effort that provides children living in poverty with toys. STEP requires the already carved toy cars, assembles the wheels, and then dips them in oil to give them a nice finished touch. The toys are then donated to nonprofit organizations that help children in need and are then shipped overseas. Ray Hunsaker, the toy maker, has made over 180,000 wooden toys by himself.
They go international, so none of the cars that we've worked on tonight will stay in the United States. The last place that his cars were taken to were Indonesia, and they were given to children there ages 3 through 6.
STEP, which stands for Students Together Ending Poverty, is one of the many volunteering organizations on campus. If you would like to get in touch with them, be sure to visit the Service Center on the 3rd floor of the TSC.
It's getting colder, which means you may be spending more time inside. And unfortunately, bugs have the same idea. These are box elder bugs, and now is the season that they move inside to try to survive. According to USU facility designers, these bugs love large buildings with southern sun exposure, which is exactly why you see so many on South Campus and the new Ag Science building. The terracotta panels on the building make a safe place for the bug to live during the winter, but facility workers say most don't survive. The facilities department says that these bugs do not bite and are harmless to crops.
Man, so those bugs are pretty nasty. I had to kill for my wife, I had to kill like 5 of them last night. She won't touch them.
My husband doesn't kill them for me.
Really?
That's not fair. Have you guys seen them out there?
Yeah. Oh, it's
There's
disgusting.
tons.
It's like a carpet.
Yeah, it's gross.
The only bad thing about fall, the only bad thing is the bugs.
Yeah, but I mean, they'll be dead soon, so.
It's true.
That's
the only
great.
good thing about winter.
Right.
It kills bugs, that's the only great thing.
That's the only good thing.
I can think of a few other great things, but we'll see. Anyways, that's about it for us. Thank you for joining us on this edition of ATV News.
Make sure to tune in next week for Cache Valley News. Have a great day.